Okay, my name is Ian Ricks, and I'm here today to convince you why college athletes should be paid. So imagine this schedule for me. You're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to your daily weight training. After that, you have to shower, quickly go to class, be in class on time, can't be late. And class will probably last until about 2 o'clock for a college athlete. Then you got about a 45-minute lunch break, get some fuel in you, then you gotta go to practice. And so I know from experience, one of my friends is the team manager for the South Carolina basketball team. Practice lasts from 3 to 8. It's 5-hour practice. And so the players usually get home probably about 9 because you gotta go shower after, get clean. And so then you gotta do homework, study for tests, all that good stuff, right? It sounds like a full-time job, right? No, not quite. College athletes don't get paid at all. You could say that college athletes get like full scholarships, which pays for the tuition and the fees, the accommodations, the housing, the meals, but it doesn't pay for a lot of stuff. And college athletes have their jerseys sold. For example, college football, let's say the Oklahoma quarterback, Kyler Murray, number one's a really well-known jersey in all of college. His jersey's sold on websites like Fanatics, and this money isn't given to him, it's given to the university and the NCAA. And it's just not fair because he's not making any money off of his personality and his play on the football field. Like I said, the NCAA pockets most of that money, and the difference between pro and college athletes is really only one thing, and that is that pros get paid and college athletes do not. And if anything, college athletes have to do more because on top of the sport that they're playing, that they're good at, they also have to pass classes in order to stay on scholarship. So college athletes need to be paid, and I will delve into why they need to be paid in this speech. Okay, on average, college athletes spend about 43 hours a week practicing, playing their respective sport. And 40 hours a week is a full job. It's what's considered a full job in today's society. And the college athletes get paid nothing for this. And then on top of that, they also have classes and studying. And so say classes are about 10 hours a week, and you should probably study 2 to 3 hours for each class, and that's gonna add up to like 40, 50 hours of school a week, honestly. And that just said that. If a student has all of these, it adds up to 90 hours a week. And this is just to remain on scholarship. They don't get any extra money from this. And so that's where the whole problem comes with. College athletes are doing all of this just to basically get by onto the next week. And there's been many instances where college athletes have failed courses. And of course, there can be a little slips in the system. You can get a little math tutor here and there to help you out. But athletes tend to struggle with this, and it's mostly unseen because of we see on ESPN, and they got all of this, oh, the guys are out getting practicing for the game, all this stuff, but they don't see what goes on behind the scenes. And it's something that kind of needs to be looked at more. And it's a big thing to me because I am a college student, and I understand how hard being a student is in college. It's not easy. And I also work a full-time job, not the same as being an athlete, but you kind of have to balance the two. And so you can imagine how college athletes have to balance both of these. And you could say, well, I could go to the pros and you could weigh in more, but then you still have to pass the classes, so you have to put in that work off, like on a different time frame. Because you still have to pass your classes, you still have to do the mandatory practices and the meetings with all the coaches. And so then behind the scenes, you have to get in the gym and get some extra shots up, for example, if you want to be a first-round pick. And it's just not easy. So one of the biggest reasons that the NCAA defended its policies, like I said earlier, is because the athletes are on scholarship. And as I said, it pays for the tuition, the fees, the housing, board, room, all that good stuff. But what they don't take into account is that, for example, the dining facilities for a college have hours. So they close at like 9:30 during the week. And if a college athlete isn't getting back to his dorm, apartment, wherever they stay at until 9:30, that means they have to eat out of pocket. The money's coming out of their pocket to go eat for that night. And it leads to many athletes being hungry because colleges haven't made this adjustment, and they haven't, although, for example, at Georgia, they have about, I think, 3 or 4 dining facilities, only one is open 24 hours. And the campuses are so big that athletes have to drive all the way there to get dinner, come back, and by that time we still have to study, got tests, finals, all that good stuff. And what many people don't realize, I know we have all these feel-good stories with these kids who have grown up earning very little and getting on scholarship at a big school and going to play college football, going to the NFL maybe. But people don't realize the back end of that. As I just said, some of this money has come out of pocket for these students, for these student athletes, and some of these students just don't have the money for it. And they can't fall back, like, I've grown up privileged, so I can fall back on my mom to get me some food. Shout out, Mom, if I need it. And the microwave for mac and cheese. Never forget that. But most student athletes don't have this fallback option. So they have to work a part-time job just to earn this spending money that they need in order to get by into the next week. And on top of this, the funny part is we know all of the big college coaches, Nick Saban, Alabama, Urban Meyer, Ohio State, making all of these 6-7 figure salaries, yet they're earning it off of their players who aren't earning anything. And that's just kind of a little side note to think about. And so back to the NCAA, they capitalize on the players' appearance and their personality for tickets, merchandise, apparel, all that good stuff. And so when selling these jerseys and these t-shirts with the popular numbers on it, they're basically selling the personhood of this athlete without, you could say with their consent, but they're not making any money off of it. So would you, for example, you do something and someone kind of gets it on video and say they post it on Twitter and it goes viral, and you get on TV shows and all this stuff, which is kind of like college athletes. They do all these big time plays that are all over ESPN, ABC, and they don't get paid anything for it. The school gets paid off of these advertisements on ESPN, like the Get Your National Championship shirt and all that good stuff. They don't make any of that money. So, and a rule, it's actually a rule. The university is allowed to capitalize on like the personhood of the player, but the player isn't. So say college athletes, a lot of them have these signing tours where they just go out and sign autographs for fans. They don't get paid anything for that. They have to sit for hours signing autographs, and then you can kind of understand, if you're not making any money off that, why some players can get agitated sometimes when it comes to that and not want to do it, because they're hours out of their day, they're not making any money. And I know it kind of seems like, oh, that's mean, all the fans love you and all this stuff, but you got other stuff to do. You got school, you got workouts, you got to get some sleep. So it's understandable that college athletes kind of, some have temper sometimes, but it's understandable if you really think about it. So, based off all of that, my main point that I'm trying to convince you is that college athletes need to be paid. There has been recent discussion about how they should be paid. People have brought it up on shows and they kind of talk about it, but nothing really solid has been done, and it needs to change. Like I said, nothing's been done. And then fans, my last point I'm kind of going to say is, a lot of fans wonder why some of the athletes bolt to the pros. Like, for example, this was, I guess, a couple years ago, Hamidou Diallo played at the University of Kentucky. He just sat a year, he did not play. And people were like, oh, he can come back next year, get better. And he really thought about going to the pros. And what he did is he went through the combine and he did all this stuff. And fans for the University of Kentucky, including myself, were criticizing him on some, you haven't played a minute in college. Why would you go to the NBA? But then when you think about it, he comes from a not as privileged background. He still has to help his mom out and his siblings, and he wanted to go earn money because he doesn't earn any money in college. And so I ask you, If you were in this situation, would you rather be paid or not paid? That is the question for everyone. And that's the question I kind of want you to sit on. Because that's the main point. Would you rather be paid to do what you love or not paid?